Good tea time, my sweet strangers. Let's do some Valentine's baking today. I don't usually make this cake pink, but since it's almost Valentine's Day, I thought I would give it some cute color. I actually have 2 recipes for this cake, both of them delicious. I just vary them based on my available ingredients, as one is based on butter and the other uses sunflower oil. Let's make the one with the oil. It's a bit easier. I start by dropping a bit of butter in my cake form and letting it melt by the oven, which I'm preheating to 350 Fahrenheit. Let's separate 4 eggs and set the egg whites aside for later. Then measure about 1 cup of confectioner's sugar. I always like to sift it to get rid of any lumps. And I like to add vanilla sugar for flavor, but you can add a dash of vanilla extract instead. Now add our 4 egg yolks and stir on medium speed for about 5 minutes until the mixture turns pale and fluffy. Meantime, sift 2 cups of semi-coarse or all-purpose flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Measure half cup of sunflower oil and half cup of room temperature water. Now lower the speed some and stir in gradually the flour with baking powder, sunflower oil and water. Alternate in small amounts until you have nothing left. The water is there to regulate the thickness of our batter, so if it's too thick, just add a little bit more. Now let's add a few drops of pink or red food coloring if you are making a special occasion cake like me today, or leave it out as I usually do. Keep adding it in small amounts so you see how the color spreads until you get the desired shade. But be careful, it's easy to overdo it. Let's finish preparing our form before continuing with the cake. Even though I use the non-stick form, I always coat the surface with butter and sprinkle thoroughly with coarse flour. 1 drum might work. And if you haven't started preheating your oven yet, now is the time. Now let's make the leavening. Put your 4 egg whites in a clean bowl. If you have some extra in your fridge, feel free to add them in. It's better to use 5 or even 6 egg whites if you can. Whip them at medium-high speed for about 5 minutes until they form stiff peaks. And I usually add a couple of tablespoons of confectioner's sugar somewhere along the way. When the egg whites are whipped stiff, I carefully fold them in the batter with a whisk. Then I pour about 3/4 of the batter into the form. It is important to work without unnecessary delays now, so the batter doesn't slump. I add about 2 teaspoons of my favorite Houten cocoa powder in the last quarter of the batter. And carefully stir it in. Just out of curiosity, I've tried adding a few drops of black food coloring to the chocolate batter, but it certainly is not necessary. Now, to get the marble effect, put the chocolate batter on top of the pink batter and swirl with a fork along the way once, trying to avoid touching the form. Place in the preheated oven and bake at 350 Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes. Then lower the temperature to 320 Fahrenheit and bake for another 30 minutes or so. Poke the cake with a skewer to test if it's baked all the way through. It has to come out clean. And now the tricky part, getting the cake out of the form. Most of the time when you let it sit for a while, the steam wets the cake on the form, and it's easy to turn it out. Sometimes not so. Finally, dust the whole cake with vanilla powdered sugar and let it cool down before serving. Now, you can serve it to your loved one and enjoy this moist and fluffy cake together. And if you stayed with me till now, please give me your thumbs up, share, and subscribe. It really helps. I hope you will make your own pink chiffon cake for Valentine's Day. And if you do, let me know how it came out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.